Hello, everybody. Day 3, the last day of TSD. My name is Ryan Gray, School Transportation Nation. Hopefully, Tony, guess I'm doing it solo today. So hopefully everybody had a great conference, getting a lot of great feedback in the chat. It was really an honor to do this for everybody. So many people talking about a great conference and an ability to network and meet up virtually. We did make the announcement yesterday in the happy hour and talked a little bit about it. I think Tony mentioned during one of the sessions earlier that it looks like hopefully the next opportunity for us to meet in person in Frisco will be next November. We did make the decision to postpone March just because it didn't seem tenable. There's too many uncertainties right now, and we do have a virtual STN Expo conference coming up in late January, as well as something else planned for April in terms of a virtual Green Bus Summit. So we just figured, you know what, we want to make sure we do this right. We don't want to go ahead and do all this work to do an in-person conference in Frisco in March and then have the rug pulled out from under us. So we did make the decision to go to mid-November next year, which was really the only other option we really had from Embassy Suites in Frisco. So look forward to getting you more information on that. Stay tuned. Want to thank again all the attendees for attending this week. Lots of great conversations. Here we are, School Transportation Nation, the third podcast of the week. This episode, as all episodes, are brought to you by TransFinder, the leader in school bus routing software, and by Zonar, a leader in fleet management, smart fleet management. We also have a maintenance tip a little bit later from Cummins. So let's kick things right off with Zonar's tech tip. For students with special needs, buses are running as usual, even during this pandemic, and everyone on board needs you to go the extra mile to protect them. Enhance your safety strategies with modern fleet technology from Zonar. Ensure sanitization protocols are followed, track ridership with contact tracing, and locate buses with precision for accurate parent communications. Stop by our virtual booth. Well, hopefully you did stop by the virtual booth during the Transporting Students with Disabilities conference. Or definitely from here on out, go to zonarsystems.com/protect. That's zonarsystems.com/protect to learn more. So, there he is, Tony.
Sorry, I was late to my own. I'm late to my own podcast. I was networking in the networking room with Mr. Charlie Vitz, and they said, "Oh, you're late for your own podcast." I was like, "Well, I was having such a good time at TSD Virtual. Just like time flew by, man. It was such a great conference. I met with 5 different people during the networking session, and man, just great comments, great feedback, big standout sessions. People were just still, Temple Grandin was still like the top, right? They were just elated seeing her speak. And it was a really special 3 days, Ryan. And I really want to commend you and the STN team for going so above and beyond and providing our community with just outstanding content. The speakers today were just unbelievable. I heard so many great comments. I was in some incredible sessions with just the amount of knowledge here just is so important. And I saw so many people shaking their head. Yes, nod. I could feel the nods, and everything kind of blended with each other. It kind of fed into each other. And I felt like, I sat in on Fred Dolker's session. It was like Mr. Fred's neighborhood, and Fred and a mic, and he had his doll with him, who was his child with disabilities. And he was in a wheelchair, and he talked all about empathy and the need to have empathy, and not only for the children, but for the staff, for the drivers, for the trainers, and the importance of that. And I really felt like it was just so just valuable to hear from his perspective what the day-to-day life would be of that child that throws themselves on the ground. What can you do to try to build trust with that child and try to get them to, listen to you, to, correct their behavior? And you go to your emotions of being angry and saying something mean. And he gave the example as, have you ever said something mean to someone you loved or cared about and you thought, that wasn't nice, shouldn't have done that? And did you do it again? Yeah. And then you did it again, and you're like, yeah, I got to get better at that, because I think we all got to just gut check moment, remind ourselves that go into that emotional place and just have empathy for that child. Because once you go there, or you try to physically push them back in their seat or pick them up off the floor or whatever that is, it just resonated with me so much, Ryan. And I thought that Fred just hit it out of the park with that session today.
Yeah, I was facilitating Dr. O'Neill's discussion at the same time, but I was kind of popping in and out, and I saw Fred, and I was like, wow, he's channeling Mr. Rogers, and then right about that time you popped in and you said, whoa, we're back with it, Mr. Roger or Mr. Fred's neighborhood. So obviously, and I said, okay, empathy, that makes sense. But yeah, you hit a nail on the head. Temple, set it up for us well with her opening talk on Monday, where she talked about just, people being humans and being kind to each other. And it starts with the parents, right? And what can transportation do to, we can't expect this industry to parent all these children, but I think we can be more educators. And we can try to help, connect the dots and just do that outreach and that customer service where we share why we do what we do, not just because, or this is how we do it. Hopefully to get some buy-in, get parents to understand more about student transportation and that link with what's going on in the classroom. And hopefully, we can just at least have the school bus environment be as empathetic and as friendly as possible, and hopefully that spills over.
Yeah, our friends at ALC Schools was our opening presentation, and they said it really well, right? It's that special. We transport special needs students. It's just like everyone is unique, right? Like you transported them, but you transport a different one, and every situation is unique. All the circumstances are unique. The conversation of being landlocked, transporting from an island on a ferry, transferring them onto a different, mode of transportation. The pathway of that just it just makes you really stop and think, wow, there are a lot of nuanced challenges. And that's just a single student. When you start to extrapolate that out, I don't think people realize the depth of what transportation does and how to leverage that. And ALC Schools was alternative student transportation. So they're looking at kind of other ways to provide really high levels of service in a very cost effective way. So it was very interesting to hear that discussion this morning, and appreciate them being a sponsor as well at the TSD Virtual. And our sponsors, Sherlock, Qstraint, and REI are diamond sponsors. We appreciate them greatly, and all our sponsors that we had. I couldn't really thank them enough for what's gone on at the virtual trade show. I think everybody really stepped up their game to engage our attendees and try to provide valuable insights and information on the products and services that are offered to support these special needs kids. And it was such an outstanding experience, Ryan. The team did a great job. Everybody, it takes a village, and I really felt so moved, I think, by everything that I saw today and throughout the 3 days, and just, hats off, and just really fabulous stuff.
Well, we're glad to deliver. That's what we do. I often say it. We have the easy job. Obviously, a lot goes into producing the conferences, producing the magazine each month, keeping our website up to date. But we're basically sharing stories. You all out there are the ones that are doing the heavy lifting. We're here just sharing, and we're writing about what you guys are doing. We're writing your stories. We're sharing at our conferences the issues you guys are all having out there in the world, and we're just doing our best to continually identify the experts, both the tried and true experts, and there are many in this industry, as well as connect the dots and bring people from outside of student transportation, or from other elements of government or agencies, to come in and be able to share their wisdom. So it's a puzzle piece, a fun puzzle, to put together every month for the magazine, every year, 3 times a year, normally for on-site conferences. Now we have the virtual, so it's a labor of love all the way around. So we're happy to do what we do.
Yeah, I think ultimately, Ryan, you want to walk away from any experience training event that you go to and just take back that valuable piece of information and share it amongst your peers and amongst the team. And there's just so many pearls of wisdom that were generated. And I especially enjoyed our panel discussion that we opened with Sue and Laura and who else was on there, Ryan? There was a few others.
Terry, it was Laura Blankenship from Knox County, Barbara Lancaster from Stafford County Schools in Virginia, and Terry Durka from a school district in Davis School District in Utah. She's a special ed teacher.
Yeah, and Terry talked about the elements of engaging the teachers to get on the bus as well and help, because bus drivers are creating aids and buying fidgets at the store, and usually the teachers have access to those materials, that card stock, those kind of visceral things that kids can touch and feel, and really trying to engage administration and the educators to get on those vehicles and really share with them what is going on, because we always talk about the school bus as an extension of the classroom, but if you don't engage the stakeholders, then you miss that. So I think that's a big takeaway for me that I heard.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so often expected that we understand what's going on in the classroom. And to a degree, I mean, that is where the majority of the education happens. That's why we have school buses and student transportation to get these kids to and from class. But there is a disconnect there. And so often it's expected for transportation to understand, and this is the way we do things, is what you have to do to meet the goals of educating kids in the classroom. But it needs to go both ways. And what we heard a lot this week in various sessions was just that, engaging education. I mentioned earlier, if we want this industry to be truly considered part of the educational process, we have to speak the same language. We have to insert ourselves into those conversations. We have to be engaged with what's going on throughout the school district and in all the different classrooms, because otherwise then you do just become just the school bus driver. And we know it's not just that. It's not just the school bus. It's not just transportation. It's transportation service, for the education and for, in the terms of the special needs kids, for their life independence. It's that tool that they need to one day be able to hopefully go out on their own and be able to survive under their own devices. So it's a vital tool, but we can't expect the same expectations that teachers might have on transportation. That we need to go out and carve our own niche for ourselves.
Yeah, Ryan, the ultimate thing is when you walk away from this conference, you have to say, what can I make and turn into some actionable result, right? How can I really look at that? And I think the overlying kind of thing that I heard again was empathy, having empathy. And also, on everybody's mind is that favorite word, COVID, right? Everybody loves COVID, right? Yeah. I mean, it's just, I can't wait for this thing to be over. It has just drug on forever. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, right? Everybody, it really has.
I think a few of us do. Yeah.
So the day is going to come soon, hopefully, where this thing's going to be behind us. But there are a lot of technologies and things that we've seen with air purification, cleaning protocols, looking at safety protocols, and how we really handle students, that I think we're really going to walk away after this thing is over and look at that and say, okay, these are things we can keep in place. Other things are like seating charts, Ryan. I mean, everybody was fighting that, and now it seems to be a much more popular thing to do, to have seating charts and use tech to kind of support that conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And we have an article actually in our November issue that talks a lot about kind of the new normal being truly being the new normal going forward with a lot of these purchases. I mean, there's a lot of money being spent, and I never like to say free money, but CARES Act has helped a lot of districts, purchase a lot of this equipment that they need. Um, just learned today, Denver Public Schools, they're outfitting their entire fleet by January with this new lighting system that operates at LED level. So it's not the UV light that we know that we've heard that is not good for humans. But they have these roof mounted lights that are used in a lot of ambulances, and even in some hospitals. With it burns bright enough that it's safe enough for plants, animals, and humans, but it can kill the virus. Or other germs. So I think DPS has put these lights in 10 of their buses right now. And again, they're in mostly virtual mode right now. But it sounds like they're going to be hoping to go back to in-person class sometime early in the new year. So they paid for all of these lights with CARES Act money. And I mean, they were showing these mechanics install the lights. And you have to believe, these are probably going to be used going forward. Once COVID finally disappears, whenever that is, I don't see them just taking these out. Maybe they will, but again, to the point of CARES Act money or other state money that has been able to fund a lot of these purchases, a lot of our readers are telling us that, hey, this is going to become our new standard operating procedure. We are going to use these, the electrostatic sprayers going forward. Maybe they won't have to use it as often, hopefully, eventually. But they've invested in these things, and they're not going away. So the new normal, I guess, is unveiling itself to us all. And like I mentioned earlier in April, where we have challenges, we can look at them as problems, frustration, or we can look at them as opportunities. And I really think as long as we put the children first, that changes your perspective, right? It's no longer like, oh, I have more work to do. It's like, this is for the safety of the kids. This is to make their day better. This is to make their families, their parents' days better. If we look at that from that viewpoint, I think it really flips the script, and it makes it more palatable, and it really is more cohesive for the industry. It makes it an industry-wide goal, and we already have that mentality, and that's what makes this industry so great. And I think that COVID will only make this industry better.
Yeah, you know what, Ryan? Our friends at TransFinder have been in the business of helping school transportation departments keep students safe for 3 decades. At the core of what they do is keeping parents and students safe. And you know what? Route Finder Plus is the most powerful and innovative software in the industry. And the only parent app that works seamlessly with Plus is Stop Finder. With Stop Finder, you can give your caregivers and create them zone alerts from school to home as much as you want, resulting in the most accurate ETA in the industry. Caregivers want to know where the bus is and receive confirmation that their students arrive safely to school or home. Stop Finder does that and more. Stop Finder is a communication tool too. With Stop Finder, you and your parents can exchange messages, photos, documents in real time securely. Stop Finder was voted the most innovative software by industry leaders at the recent Bus Technology Summit. To learn more about this robust parent app platform, check out free Stop Finder at transfinder.com. That's free Stop Finder at transfinder.com. And Ryan, I know we have a special guest waiting in the wings to come on with us. Who do we have?
We do. Mr. Charlie Hood, Executive Director from NASDPTS. Charlie, come on screen.
Greetings, gentlemen.
Hey, we hear you.
How's it
There
going?
he is.
There he
Good,
is. Hey.
good.
Okay.
Live from Tallahassee, Florida. Of course, as I mentioned, Executive Director of NASDPTS, the National Association of State Directors of Pupil Transportation Services, as well as a member of our TSD National Advisory Board. So I think Charlie was telling me earlier, going all the way back to 1992 or 92 or 94. I think it was 92 when Roseanne Schwader started TSD. And of course, we've had this conference now for almost 10 years now, I believe. Tony, isn't it? Time's really flown by. But Charlie's been to almost every one of them, I think. So, Charlie, welcome. Your first TSD virtual experience. And I know you had a lot of work to do to get ready for a NASDPTS virtual conference, which is next week, I believe. And we'll get into that in a second. But want to talk to you about a session that you facilitated today, a hot topic on alternative transportation. You had Susan Miller, State Director of Colorado, Carlos Chicas, Director of Transportation from Capistrano Unified School District in Southern California, and Josh Rice, Director of Transportation from Klein ISD in Texas. What did you guys talk about? What alternative transportation?
Well, first, I got to say I was humbled by that group, by the expertise that surrounded me, and also, by the way, I wanted to let you know I really like your moniker, School Transportation Nation. That's a good one. It really says what we're all about. But the alternative transportation topic is one that's very pertinent to your audience this week in particular, because so many of those smaller vehicles of necessity are being used to transport students with various kinds of special needs, not just students with disabilities, but homeless students under McKinney-Vento, foster care students. There are a lot of situations. I mean, we all like to brag, and everybody in your audience knows how safe school buses are. We take pride in that. They're far safer than any other mode. But the reality of it is that there are times and places when it's just not practical to run a full size school bus, either because of geography, students are isolated down a dirt road, parents won't transport them if that was offered to them sometimes. So it's an important area that alternative transportation in the broadest sense can include all modes: walking, biking, students driving themselves, which we all know is the least safe way they get to school, or their peers. But what we talked about specifically today was really the two categories of alternative transportation. The and I hope I don't botch how to describe these in the eyes of the companies that provide them and the people who use them, but sort of the more traditional fixed route small vehicle transportation with a regular full time driver who serves that route, versus some of the newer options that parents and school districts have with transportation networking companies that are really a much more you know ride sharing, ride hailing, whatever you want to call it, gig economy, whatever terms you want to put on it, that are really a much more recent phenomenon in terms of student transportation, especially. So it was a very interesting discussion, and the overriding theme of all the panel members, was that no matter how you structure your contracts or offer those services, the critical thing is that you have adequate RFPs, contract compliance monitoring, that you put whatever safeguards you can in terms of the into your processes and practices relating to the safety and qualifications of the drivers, as well as inspection, insurance of vehicles, insurance. In other words, they really aren't different in terms of the bar that we set for keeping our kids safe and healthy. Uh, they certainly are offering some alternatives, particularly during this pandemic, that are particularly valuable. So I encourage everybody to explore those options. If you've got situations, you've got a homeless kid who maybe lives in another school district, or in some cases even in another state, but you're required to transport them to their school of origin. A bus just doesn't work for that a lot of the time. So it was very interesting. Obviously, people can go back and contact any of us. I'll be happy to help however I can.
Yeah, definitely. During the Bus Technology Summit, several people talked about this alternative transportation, that concept, which is, really nothing too new to the industry. Definitely some of these fixed route providers that you've been mentioning have been doing this for over a decade. Where it is really new is these TNCs, or the transportation networking companies, which, really started operating under that similar model to what Uber and Lyft did. Now, Uber and Lyft, obviously, they put it in their charters or in their business practices that they're not supposed to be transporting children under the age of 18, but we know that's happening. I tell people this often. Our office is right next door to a private high school, and on the other side of us is a Wendy's. And boy, during a normal year when school's in at about 2 o'clock, that looks like Grand Central Station with all these Ubers and Lyfts pulling into the parking lot and all these kids getting in. And, that shouldn't be happening. And there was I believe it was a Wall Street Journal article that was done, or maybe it was New York Times earlier this year, that kind of uncovered how a lot of kids are getting around, that regulation, or that prohibition that some of these companies have written into their business practices. But really, the TNCs come about where, they're supposed to be, a higher level of care. And you hit it right on the head, Charlie. It's that standard of care where, regardless if you're in a school bus or you're taking a vehicle from a company that's offered, by someone like ALC, who is one of our partners this week, or one of these TNCs, which tend to have more contracted drivers. And in fact, we just had a ballot initiative here approved in California last week that allows these companies to continue operating with contractors, rather than forcing them to hire them on as full-time employees. So that makes a lot of sense to that business model. But I think the concern is that these folks, if they're not employees, how do you really hold their feet to the fire to meet these mandates of background checks and certification? But a lot of these companies, they're moving forward, and they're saying this is what we can do. And I think it really it falls on the school districts, just like it does with our traditional contractors, school bus contractors. You can't just wash your hands you of the situation. You can't just say, okay, well, we have this contractor providing the service. That's what they do. Now let's go back over here and pay attention to, or focus on classroom. So it's that collaboration, communication, oversight, whatever you want to call it, where school districts still pay very, very close attention, maybe even closer attention, if that's possible, to what's going on. And complicating matters too is with a lot of these TNCs, as I understand, they're governed by regulations set by a lot of their local or state public utility commissions, and not by maybe the Department of Transportation or the Department of Education, like the school buses used to working under. So there's that extra layer, right, of oversight. And Susan Miller from Colorado, so she was instrumental in really writing up some regulations for the state of Colorado, wasn't she? Where it really looked at this emerging tech, if you will, or this disruptive service, and making sure that everyone is able to dot their I's and cross their T's.
I mean, I'll jump in on this. I mean, I think whenever you're considering any transportation of this method, where it's alternative student transportation or TNCs, make sure you do your due diligence within your state, that you are compliant with all the rules and regs for transporting kids, because the burden is on you. If you hire someone, you need to make sure and do your due diligence. And I really, really can't emphasize that enough, that you can't just assume that certain things apply or don't apply. Make sure and talk to your state director. And Charlie knows a few state directors, right, Charlie? I think you might know a couple that could help guide people in their respective states on maybe where they can go to find out more information.
Absolutely. And anybody who doesn't already know who their state director is, can certainly go to our website, NASDPTS.org. And just right on our homepage is a link called Find a Director, and they're all listed. There's a state map where you can just click on the map for your state, and their complete contact information, phone numbers, emails, addresses, etc., are all there. It's all public information, and we encourage you. Although a lot of the situations as a state director that I dealt with when I was the state director in Florida were local, probably 95% were local, and I wasn't necessarily in a position to change the outcomes. Uh, it certainly gave parents and others an avenue to say, or in school districts, an avenue to say, okay, well, what are the regulations here, and what should be happening, what this law requires. So yeah, I agree with you, Tony. That's very important that since transportation and education is integral to education, and all education is local, it's extrememe important to know not just your state policies, but your local school district policies.
Exactly. And speaking of NASDP, so I put that URL into the chat box on the main stage. Also, to look for our buyer's guide, which is going to be coming out in January, and it lists every state director, so you can use that as a quick reference tool as well. So speaking of NASDPTS, want to segue, Charlie, to a virtual conference that NASDPTS is doing next week. Can you tell us a little bit about what's on tap for that?
We're doing a series of workshops. It's really in lieu of our conference, and we've been careful not to call it a conference because we can't in this kind of an environment. We don't have as robust a platform as what you guys have been able to offer. But we are going to have some substantive workshops that are the kinds of workshops that would normally be conducted in person if we were holding a live conference. We're calling it Federal Forums Plus, and the reason we're calling it that is because the key theme of the week is going to be presentations each afternoon, Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern. We will be having presentations by the various federal agencies that regulate and support student transportation. Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, its National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, National Transportation Safety Board, Transportation Security Administration, Environmental Protection Agency. They're all going to be doing fairly deep dive kinds of workshops on regulatory issues, on what kinds of flexibility and waivers they may be offering, and in some cases may still be offering to allow school districts to deal with driver shortages and other issues during the pandemic. So it's going to be good current topical information, much like what we always offer at our conference. And then we're going to have some add-ons at 3 o'clock each day Eastern. We're going to have about an hour of add-on of 3 different topics on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I encourage any of you who are interested in that, go to the NASDPTS website, or just, you're welcome to put my email and contact information up there on the chat if you want to do that, Ryan. But we'll be happy to talk to you about it. It's free and open, and we encourage participation.
Yep, it's free for everyone. So that's thanks to NASDP. So if you use that NASDP's link I put into the main chat, you can go and find Charlie's contact information. So we'll definitely be attending that. So looking forward to hearing what the your federal partners have to say. And again,
thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about it a little bit.
Sure, not a problem, not a problem. Well, thank you so much again for the leadership you provide the industry and have for several decades now. And you did mention, and I forgot to mention earlier, former state director for Florida, worked there for the Florida Department of Education. So I really appreciate everything you do and continue to do this for this industry and everything you did for us this week.
Well,
So,
and
thanks.
you as well. These TSD conferences have been extremely critical, and they're really the only venue I know of where you can get the kinds of information that helps you to gain credibility within the overall school administration, especially with your cohorts in the special education side. It's very, very, the credentials and the credibility that one gains from these conferences has been critical for me and for a lot of other people over the years. So thank you for doing it.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's our honor. It's our pleasure. So thanks
And I
again,
know you
Charlie, for
guys both
joining
have
us.
small kids. I know you guys both have
Yes.
small kids. So if for no other reason, you're heavily invested in taking care of kids first.
Yep, exactly.
Most
So
definitely, Charlie. Thanks for jumping on. Really appreciate you. And now I have a maintenance tip from our friends at Cummins. Cummins knows total cost of operation is important to their customers, which is why they focused on making enhancements to reliability and durability while also lowering the total cost of ownership, or TCO. And new for EPA 2021, the B6.7 features upgrades that will allow for extended engine maintenance intervals, including longer oil drain intervals, more time between fuel filter changes, and a complete maintenance-free crankcase filtration filter. Also, for 2021, the B6.7 offers advancements in connectivity to find, prevent, and resolve issues faster. Go to cummins.com/engines/school-bus to learn more about Cummins in the school bus market. Ryan, we have some winners. Everybody's here really at our podcast to hear about the big
oh
winners.
yeah.
Who's winning the $100 Amazon gift cards today?
Well, the first person, already I mentioned if you were in the session, I think it was, I can't remember the session. I think it was moving forward with teamwork. But she definitely is the winner for the best avatar. She also wins a $100 gift card from Amazon. Tammy Parker, the exceptional service transportation training and compliance specialist at Dysart Unified School District in Arizona. Tammy, you got to go over to
Tammy.
people and click on her name to go see her avatar. It's great. Also winning the $100 gift card for session chats, Wesley Stone, school bus inspector for West Virginia Department of Education. Wesley, congratulations.
Way to go,
And for
Wesley.
the booth chat, Lynn Graham, school bus driver trainer at school district number 83. And it doesn't have a state here, so I apologize for that. I'll have to do a quick little research here. But to our winners, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks everyone for participating and engaging in the chat. You know, like I had said from the beginning, this conference would not be successful without you and your knowledge and sharing with your peers. It's as much as us bringing you experts and suppliers as it is you connecting and networking with other peers and sharing ideas. There is just so much group share that it's just vital to the success of our industry as well as to the success of your operations to gain knowledge from other peers. Just so fabulous. And I saw that in spades. And people have such a fluency for special needs that are participating and a passion that is unparalleled, Ryan. And I feel just so grateful to have such a great community of individuals. And thanks for everyone for joining us on the School Transportation Nation. Just outstanding week. And just really, really appreciate you guys so much.
Yes, thank you so much. And Lynn just jumped on the chat and said she's in Canada, so north of the border. I think that's maybe our second winner from Canada this week. But anyways, congratulations to all. Yes, it was a fun week. Looking forward. Have tons of ideas for the next time whenever we can do the next conference. Again, hopefully in person next November. There was so many more things I wanted to do, and again, it just like there's so many things I want to do every year at the on-site conference that we can't either pull it off because we just can't get the right people together, or it just the scheduling, we can't get it done. But certainly look forward to receiving an attendee survey tomorrow. You'll be receiving that probably mid-morning time. Pacific Coast, I'll say, so maybe around lunchtime on the East Coast. Fill that out, please. We want your feedback. That helps us be better. It helps us, address your needs. What did we not hit the mark on? What did we hit the mark on? We always love to hear the good news, but we also want to hear what we can do better. And what kind of topics do you want to hear? Keeping in mind that we can't do everything, but we try. But certainly let us know what we need to be writing about, what we need to be organizing for the next conference to help you guys.
Yeah, you can email us at info@stnmedia.com. We'll be happy to take that as well as podcast topics. We appreciate you guys sharing your comments and feedback on the School Transportation Nation podcast. We are a weekly podcast, but for this special conference, we're going every day. So this is the third installment this week of the podcast, and we couldn't do it without our sponsors, TransFinder. Thank you for this beautiful coffee mug. I always love TransFinder. They do a great job supporting us. Thanks to Zonar, leader in smart fleet management, and our friends at Cummins for our tech tip this week. You guys are awesome. And School Transportation Nation, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. We love to have those 5-star reviews. So if you enjoyed this podcast, please hook us up with a 5-star review and share this with your friends. If you have friends in the transportation industry, we talk about everything school transportation related, special needs, COVID, back to school. If it's school transportation, we cover it. We have amazing guests. We have some great guests coming up on future podcasts. We have it's like almost 40 episodes, Ryan, I think we're coming up on. So if you want to catch up on our archive of podcasts, you can check that out, stnpodcast.com on our website as well. And special thanks again to our diamond sponsors, REI and Q-Strength Sherlock, for supporting TSD Virtual. And I want to thank everyone for joining us, and have an excellent rest of your week. Happy Veterans Day again to all our veterans. We appreciate you, and really thank you for joining us today.
Yep, and thanks to TransFinder, Zonar, and Cummins, and everybody. We'll see you soon. And head over to the happy hour. We're doing it. We're doing it again. We weren't going to do it. We're going to do it. Let's head over there and have a virtual drink. See you soon.
Wonderful. Thanks, guys. Take care.